We're talking to Antonio Garcia. You wrote a book about how the whole following system on the internet works, and you were one of the co-founders. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I was an early employee on Facebook ads, one of the first employees, and I built what became Facebook Exchange and what's known as custom audiences, which is the way that you actually use your data to target users on Facebook.
Just like Criteo follows you around, and now Facebook does the same.
Right. I mean, that was one of the first big clients actually, and this is back in the day when Facebook targeting didn't have any of that at all. And
so what year are we talking about?
2012, right around the time of the year.
What happened? Tell us about it.
Oh, well, the revenue stopped growing, and so the call went out to anyone who had a new cool idea. I raised my hand because I had kind of worked in that area before, and with 3 people in about a month and a half, we built the first version of the software actually.
3 people, month and a half.
Yeah. I mean, that was when the ads team was...
It must have been crappy.
It basically worked. I mean, it took a little while to scale it, but we were breaking new ground. It's the first time that programmatic had been used in a social media environment, right? Other than Google, so yeah.
And that was a time that Google was really winning, right? And Facebook was going IPO, and nobody knew how the advertising was going. And now it's all turned around. Facebook is much bigger. So how do you see that? Is this part of it?
It's partially part of it. It's definitely part of the long-term strategy, right? I mean, Facebook and Google has the magical thing that all marketers want, which is a unique ID for everybody on every device that you touch, right? And how that battle of identity on devices plays out, I think, is really the story for the next 5-10 years of marketing.
And a lot of targeting information for the marketeers.
That's right, and how that, right, a lot of targeting information, a lot of it's used in weird ways, like in politics, for example, that is now the subject of a lot of attention. And this has been a largely unregulated marketplace for a long time, at least in the US.
So what happened? The Russians helped...
The Russians spent $100,000 on Facebook and won the election. That's the story, or at least that's the story being told in the US, which of course is false. But it is true that they did spend money, and it's weird, but Facebook, you didn't have to register as a politician to run political ads on Facebook. And so basically anybody could run anything. That's the story. And anybody did. That's what happened.
So now they're hiring 1,000 people to control that.
Right, I mean, this is a big switch actually. This is news. Facebook has really adopted a different tone in terms of this, and is actually taking responsibility for a lot of the content on their platform in a way they didn't in the past, right? And so I think that's...
to control the ads and to stop ads that are not okay.
Right, I mean, they've always done that for things like fraud or spam, but actually doing it around political messaging is quite new. And just in general, I think, they used to have that American attitude around free speech, basically anything goes. And I think now they're actually exercising editorial control, like a newspaper would. And I think that's a huge change. For Facebook.
So back in the days, how was the mood right then? You started in 1.5 months, and then the year after, what happened?
Well, it was a big battle for what would be the future of Facebook ads, right? I mean, this was novel ground. No one had ever done this at Facebook before, and companies like Facebook have a lot of internal mythologies, how they see themselves, how they see the world. And when you try to launch new products into that mythology, it needs to be accommodated into that sort of company story. And if it can't be, then that product will have difficulties, right? And so you can see the way that Facebook has gone. It decides to vertically integrate its entire ad system. It controls everything about the retargeting product, right? And so it finds things like open programmatic or retargeting kind of threatening in a way. And that's the struggle I think that's played out for the past 3-4 years.
And I think it is, because your timeline is cluttered.
Is what?
Your timeline is cluttered with ads and stuff.
Right. I mean, Facebook's like Apple in that sense. They'd rather control the entire user experience, everything that goes into it, rather than having it be sort of an open platform. And so you can see a lot of that, right? Yeah.
So where's this going? How do you see the future?
It's a good question. I mean, I think Facebook's going to start exercising editorial control over what appears on its platform, which is a huge change. As all your viewers probably know, Facebook sees itself as a tech company, not a media company. Those are very different companies. But I think that's going to have to change, and they're going to have to hire people who actually, control this content. So I think the story is going to be less, Facebook promoted some terrible story because the algorithm said so, to Facebook actually stopped the story that maybe they shouldn't have because, Facebook hates the socialists or hates Trump voters or hates whatever, right? And so now Facebook becomes the bad guy, but in a sort of different way than it used to be. And that's what's going to happen, basically.
Great, thank you.